Ready to see something familiar in a whole new light? Buckle up because we're going on a deep dive into hydrogen's industrial journey. Long before fuel cells were even a thing, hydrogen was a silent powerhouse shaping industries in ways you might not expect.
It's true. And today we're focusing on the pre-1950s, a time brimming with innovation and, dare I say, explosive moments.
Explosive moments, I like that. So our sources mention everything from balloons to city lights. Where do we even start with a story this big?
Well, how about we start with those early hydrogen balloons? Picture this. It's 1783, and the first manned flight takes to the skies. But it wasn't the famous Montgolfier brothers. It was a lesser-known scientist named Jacques Charles piloting a hydrogen balloon. Talk about a spectacle.
Wow, I can only imagine. Those early attempts at lighter-than-air travel, though, they couldn't have been without their challenges, right? Weren't they practically using chemistry sets to get those things off the ground?
You're not far off.
Yeah.
Back then, producing hydrogen involved reacting metals like iron with sulfuric acid. Not exactly the safest or most efficient method, especially considering the massive quantities needed to inflate those early airships.
It's incredible to think about how from those, let's say, primitive beginnings, hydrogen goes on to light up entire cities. Tell me more about this gaslight era.
Ah, the gaslight era. That's where hydrogen's impact on society becomes impossible to ignore. Before electricity, think about it, cities relied on gaslight, those flickering lamps you see in old photographs. Well, hydrogen was a key ingredient in producing that town gas, as they called it.
Wait, so those moody atmospheric scenes we see in period dramas, those were powered by hydrogen. That changes how I see those stories. Did this gaslight revolution impact daily life in any other ways?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine the workday suddenly extending after sunset, social gatherings spilling out into the newly illuminated streets, a sense of safety replacing that fear of darkness. Of course, as with any technological advancement, there were trade-offs.
Right. We can't forget about the... Hold on, Crisco. The shortening my grandmother used to swear by. What does that have to do with hydrogen?
Crisco, seriously, I am all ears. Tell me more about this unexpected connection.
Okay, so Crisco, along with margarine and other shortening products, they all relied on this process called hydrogenation. It's actually pretty ingenious when you think about it. This process allowed food manufacturers to transform liquid vegetable oils, which were plentiful and affordable, into those solid fats that we often find in baked goods, like pantry staples.
So they took something abundant, affordable, like vegetable oil, and through the power of hydrogen, they gave it a whole new use. That's brilliant. But our sources also mention some health considerations surrounding hydrogenation. What's that all about? Yeah, you're right to pick up on that. While revolutionary at the time, early hydrogenation methods sometimes produced those trans fats that, well, we now know aren't so good for us. It just goes to show that, scientific advancements aren't always a straight line to the perfect solution.
It's like every innovation comes with its own set of trade-offs, Unexpected consequences. For better or worse, it really makes you think about the bigger picture, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And speaking of bigger pictures, hydrogen's story takes a bit of a dramatic turn. It goes from the kitchen table to a much more, let's say, impactful arena.
Okay, now you've really piqued my curiosity. What could be more impactful than revolutionizing the way we bake?
Well, remember those early challenges of producing ammonia? That vital ingredient in fertilizer.
Yeah, and how the Haber-Bosch process came to the rescue, right?
Exactly. But what our sources reveal is that this groundbreaking process, which, as you know, uses hydrogen as a key component, well, it also had another, let's say, more unsettling application.
You're saying the same process that helps feed the world
Can also be used to create explosives.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a stark example of how scientific discoveries can have this dual nature, with the potential for both great good and great harm.
Wow. Talk about a plot twist. Okay, I need a minute to process this. So we've got hydrogen at the heart of this world-changing process, but how does it actually work? Break down the Haber-Bosch process for me.
Okay, so imagine this. You're taking nitrogen gas from the air we breathe, right? And you're combining it with hydrogen under incredibly high pressure and temperatures. It might sound simple enough, but achieving this, as our sources highlight, was a monumental feat of engineering.
High pressure, you say. Just how high are we talking?
Imagine the weight of 150 cars concentrated onto a single square meter. That's the kind of pressure we're dealing with. It took incredible ingenuity to create equipment capable of withstanding those forces.
150 cars, that's mind-blowing. And what about those catalysts we hear so much about? What role do they play in all of this?
Catalysts? Oh, they're like the unsung heroes of the Haber-Bosch process. They're like special ingredients that accelerate the reaction. making it happen much faster, more efficiently. Think of it like adding a pinch of spice to a recipe to enhance the flavor.
So hydrogen, under extreme pressure, with a dash of catalytic magic, allows us to pull nitrogen from thin air and create the building blocks for fertilizer. And unfortunately, explosives too. That's a lot for one element to carry on its tiny shoulders. But I have a feeling hydrogen's pre-1950 story doesn't end there, does it?
You're absolutely right. We've only just scratched the surface. Before 1950, hydrogen was a busy bee. It was popping up in all sorts of industries. Take metallurgy, for example. Hydrogen played a crucial role in purifying metals, removing impurities to create stronger and more durable materials.
Metallurgy, now there's a word I haven't heard in a while. So from balloons to city lights to margarine to fertilizers and even explosives, is there anything hydrogen wasn't involved in back then?
You're starting to get it. And don't forget about its role in heat treatment. By creating these special atmospheres with hydrogen, manufacturers, they could prevent metals from oxidizing during the heating process, ensuring the quality and longevity of tools and machinery. Oh, and we can't forget about those majestic airships we touched on earlier.
Ah, yes. The airships, didn't they also rely on hydrogen?
They did. But, as we know, hydrogen's flammability posed some, significant challenges.
Right, the Hindenburg disaster being a tragic example of those risks.
Exactly. It's just a stark reminder that even with its remarkable versatility, hydrogen's potential often came with these inherent risks.
So we see hydrogen lifting those airships to new heights, literally, but also contributing to their downfall. It's a story filled with both triumph and tragedy, isn't it?
Precisely. And it highlights the importance of understanding both the possibilities and, indeed, the limitations of any technology. You can't just focus on the wow factor. You need to consider the complexities, the potential downsides as well.
It's about informed progress, right? Understanding that innovation isn't always a straight line to success, but a journey with its own share of bumps along the way.
Exactly. And that brings us to a crucial question. Despite all these incredible applications before 1950, why wasn't hydrogen already considered the fuel of the future back then?
It's like we've uncovered this hidden history of hydrogen, right? A prequel to all the clean energy conversations that are happening today. So what held it back? Was it just too hard to handle back then?
That's the million-dollar question. And our sources point to a few key challenges: storage, safety, and cost. Think about it. You're trying to store a gas so light it can make a ship float, but also so flammable it could, bring it down in flames. Not exactly easy problems to solve, even back then.
Yeah, it's a classic case of easier said than done, right? I mean, we often take for granted how much technology has advanced, making things safer, more efficient. But even with those challenges, hydrogen was already making waves across so many industries.
Exactly, and that's why understanding this pre-1950s era is so crucial. It really provides us with this valuable context for our modern-day pursuit of a hydrogen economy. You see, it's not just some new idea. It's a continuation of a journey with deep, deep historical roots.
It's like those early pioneers. They were laying the groundwork, right?
Yeah.
Figuring out the fundamentals so we could pick up the baton and run with it, armed with new knowledge and technologies.
Precisely. And that brings us to, I think, the heart of the matter. What can this pre-1950s story teach us about the potential and the challenges, both, of a future hydrogen economy?
I think what stands out to me is how those early applications, they weren't just about fuel, right? It was about transforming industries, lighting up cities, revolutionizing food production. It really makes you think about those ripple effects of embracing new technologies, the positive, and as we've seen, the potentially negative.
That's a crucial point. We can't afford to repeat the mistakes of the past. Just because something is innovative or seems beneficial on the surface doesn't mean it's without risks. We need to approach this potential of hydrogen with clear eyes, considering the entire life cycle, its production, storage, transportation, and use.
It's about having that long-term vision, right? Thinking beyond just those immediate benefits and really trying to assess that bigger picture, the potential, the pitfalls. It's about making informed decisions, but on a societal level.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of a deep dive like this. It's not just about, uncovering some fascinating historical facts. It's about equipping ourselves, all of us, with the knowledge to navigate these complex challenges and, of course, the opportunities of the future.
So to our listeners, the next time you hear about hydrogen, remember this deep dive. It's not just about fuel cells and clean energy. It's a story woven into the very fabric of our technological evolution, full of triumphs, setbacks, and lessons that, frankly, continue to resonate even today.
And just like those early pioneers, we have this incredible opportunity to shape the next chapter of hydrogen's story, Let's make it one we can all be proud of.
Until next time, keep asking those insightful questions and diving deep into this fascinating world around us.